Alrighty, everyone. Hello. For some reason, I have that, are you ready for some football? So I'm like, are you ready for the ad hoc committee on efficiency of boards and commissions? Just trying to pep it up in here. Thank you, everyone. I know it's 5:15, we're running long, and we also have a full agenda, 5 speakers, so we're going to get to it. This is the regular meeting of the Ad Hoc Committee on the Efficiency of Boards and Commissions. It's Wednesday, October 8th, 2025, and this meeting is being held pursuant to KRS 61.826 and Council Rule 5A. I'm the chair of the committee, Councilwoman Jennifer Chappell, and this is the chair, my co-chair or vice chair of the committee, Councilman Kevin Bratcher. We're also joined in chambers today by committee members J.P. Linninger, Scott Reed, and then also joining us today, and on the committee virtually, we've got Councilman Marcus Winkler, and then also in the chambers today, we're joined by Councilwoman Donna Purvis. We're going to be discussing Councilwoman Purvis's legislation first. That's item number 2. But just to let you know, our featured speakers today are from the Redevelopment Authority, Louisville Regional Airport Authority Board, Riverport Authority, Greater Louisville Lodging Management District, and the Film Commission. Once we talk about the legislation, I'll again go over the goals of the committee as well as our time limits. So film folks, if you can just pause for a second, we're going to talk about item number 0-085-25.
Motion.
Ordinance. Do I have to read it? Okay, an ordinance amending the Louisville Jefferson County Metro Government Code of Ordinances, Section 40.45, to address board member conflicts of interest. And we have a motion by Councilman Winkler.
Second.
Second by Councilman Linninger. And I'm going to turn the floor over to Councilwoman Purvis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will promise to be really quick, but I hope that in my quickness that I can influence you to understand where I'm coming from. I've looked at this along with some of my other colleagues, and find it necessary to address conflict of interest. I feel like if we can select talent to be on these boards and commissions, I don't think that it is appropriate for people's intentions to benefit from being on the board. We intend to address this universally, but right now we are going to address the Louisville Affordable Housing Trust Fund due to the fact that we realize that there are interested parties that were seeking to be on the board for the benefit of the board. And seeking funding for some of the nonprofit and for-profit projects. And so I think it's only fair that if you are committing to be a part of the board, to help accomplish the mission of the board, I think that you should not be motivated by self-interest. So I'm asking my colleagues to vote in favor of this legislation, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, and in our queue, we've got Councilman Linninger.
Actually, I'll withdraw for now. Let Councilman Reed go.
Councilman Reed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think we held this back last time in attempts to improve it, to maybe make it a little bit more broad and yet specific. However, that being said, we do have some time before we'll take a vote on this at full council. So I don't have a problem voting it out of committee. At the promise of maybe having a good look at it between now and before it actually gets to a full vote, and see how we can make it better.
Okay, Councilman Linninger, did you want to jump back in?
Yeah, I just would I would like to ask through the chair a question of the sponsor of why did we preserve a carve out for family members and related persons for funding while striking direct ownership. To me, this seems to be an odd carve-out with the intent.
I can't answer that, but hopefully the sponsor of the bill would be able to, Ms. Purvis?
Councilman Liniger, can you tell me what section you're looking at?
So when we look at the conflicts of interest, the following organizations shall not be eligible for funding or grant monies in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Any for-profit organization owned by a board member, or that if they serve as a board member, trustee, director, or officer, consultant or contractor, or an employee. But then we are preserving that, grants can be made where the board, we still have board members, family members. I was just curious why we have, we have not matched that language. And if that's a question best answered by the county attorney, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah, I would, because, and I'm still not, I'm trying to follow you. You didn't tell me what section.
I'm comparing, section 1E, subsection 1A and B to the subsequent subsections of section 1.
So these outlines explain to you why, these are explaining the people that will not be eligible for funding as part of the board. So I don't, this is, I'm
What
kind
I
of
mean is,
confused.
we've excluded from eligibility any funding in the first subsections, but then the carve-out is they may still be funded for these other entities, but the person in question must recuse. It just seems to me, I don't know, I'm curious about why we have different standards between these two sections.
Okay, I think I'm going to let county attorney's office respond to that.
Sure. Ms. Goodwin, would you be able to speak to this? We cannot hear you. You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Catherine Goodwin, Assistant Jefferson County Attorney. I was not involved in the drafting of this ordinance, so I'm not really quite sure if there was a reason specifically for the carve-out that the councilman's referring to. I wish I could be of more help. I'm just not really sure. It seems like if you would like to have that carve out made, you could draft it that way. But again, I wasn't involved in the drafting process, so I'm not really sure.
Madam Chair,
Sure.
I'm looking back over again at A and B is explanatory as to the limitations. So you wanted to know why A and B was,
If I may. So A and B, section 1, E, 1, A and B, we have said that the following organizations are not eligible for funding or grant monies. And then when we look at, for example, 4, as compared to subsection 1, while grants may be made to nonprofit organizations that employ a board member, advisor, or family member of a board member, advisor, or staff member, or that contract for the provision of goods or services from any of these individuals, no grant to such an organization shall include funds designated to pay the compensation for such employees or services. And, in section 3 above, no Affordable Housing Trust Fund board member shall participate in the discussion or a vote. Any funding grant organization which said board member or family member is now an owner, board member, trustee, director or officer, consultant or contractor, et cetera. So I was just curious why, and again, it sounds like the county attorney's answer is, well, that's how it was before these amendments were brought forward. And so there's not really any elucidation there. But I was just wondering why we have set different standards in the different subsections. If we're concerned about the propriety of board members' involvement with these monies, it seems to me that it should be the same standard. But again, I'm willing to be lobbied on this question between now and when we do take it up on the full council. I'm not trying to say like, and that's why I'm going to pound the table and demand a no vote or whatever. I was just curious.
Would it be possible for you to offer an amendment on the floor that makes that language match? Or is that something that you would be willing to work with Councilman Purvis to make those changes?
I'm happy to talk to Councilman Purvis at length about this. I'm not even sure that I would want to offer this amendment. What I don't know can fill a book, right? I am curious. I just wanted to know, maybe there's a very good reason we don't want to do it, that we want to have different standards between these subsections. That's my question. Why do we have differences between subsections? Maybe there's a good reason, maybe there isn't. I don't know. Maybe we would want to offer an amendment. Maybe Councilwoman Purvis would be interested in such an amendment after we got more information. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's the purpose of the committee is to ask questions.
Sure. Would it be favorable to possibly make a motion to table, and then we can see if the county attorney who worked on this could then be present at the next one so they could answer these questions? I guess this is a rhetorical question because I'm going to turn it over to Councilman Winkler, who has a question.
When we brought this item up last time, I had asked, I said, I've got a bunch of questions that, we'd want the impacted board to be here. Is somebody from the Affordable Trust Fund here to answer questions?
No, it does not look like it, or they're not eager
Okay.
to expose themselves.
Yeah, I'm not really comfortable passing legislation that impacts the board without being able to ask what those impacts are. It would be my request that we have a member, whether it's the director or the chair of the board, but somebody from the board so that we can make a decision based, that we can ask our questions. We won't be able to do that on the floor. I would request that if we discuss this next time, great, but that we have somebody from the trust fund here that we could ask, like Councilman Lineger's questions or the questions that I have related to the impact so that we don't inadvertently make a mistake.
Madam Chair.
Sure,
may I speak?
Councilwoman
Okay.
Purvis.
It seems like this legislation has become a little complex with the questioning. The real reason why this was proposed was we discovered that people are interested in sitting on boards and commissions for their own benefit. Now, how it's written, why it's different in one section than it is in the other, I understand that's a concern. That is something that can be addressed with an amendment. Whether Affordable Housing Trust Fund is here or not, it is something that we must address because we are finding too many people that are abusing their power by being on these boards and commissions. And it is necessary to look for people that have committed talent to be on these boards to help carry out the mission of these organizations.
Councilman Winkler.
Yeah, thank you. And respectfully, I completely agree. However, I need to understand, for example, if the controlling ordinance mandates that and I don't know this, right? And this is what I want to talk through. If the controlling ordinance for this organization or any other organization mandates that a member of that community be on the board, and then we subsequently pass a resolution that says that they may no longer, so let's say it mandates a for-profit or not-for-profit, doesn't really matter, I know you've exempted not-for-profit, but that it mandates that a developer is on this, and we then say they can never apply, to me, that's like, it's fine that we say they never apply, but then we probably also need to update the ordinance to say that it's not mandatory that somebody is on the board. And that's the pieces that I'd like to talk through so that we're not creating a juxtaposition where we basically can't fill the board because we've said you got to be in this position, but then you can no longer be in this position.
Councilwoman Purvis.
I think you said you didn't understand, or you said, I don't understand what you're saying, and that's not what I'm saying. What is saying in this legislation is any for-profit entity that has a conflict of interest should not serve on this particular board. As Councilman Kramer and I discussed a few weeks ago, this is something that needs to be applied throughout all the boards and commissions here in Louisville, Jefferson County. And so I don't know what more you want to talk about. This has been on ad hoc for a few months now. You've yet to reach out to ask me anything about it, or county attorney. And so, here we are. It is necessary, in my opinion, to pass this legislation so that we don't get the wrong people on boards that are only there for their benefit.
Councilman Winkler, I have Councilman Bratcher, and then you.
Well, I'm just curious why anybody would be against this. I mean, I just think it's a good idea, and I think it should be applied to every board we have. But, I'm new to this spot, so I'm just taking it all in. Is there a fundamental problem with this that I'm just missing? And that's an open question to everybody.
Well, Councilman Winkler, you're in the queue.
Yeah, and Councilman Bratcher, again, I agree with you completely. What my question is there another part of the incorporation of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund legislation that says a board member must be a developer, right? Like, let's say the board and this is my question, right? If the makeup of the board requires that you are an affordable housing developer, okay? And I don't know if it does. That's my question. That's why I want that's why we have a committee to ask these questions, right? Is if one section of law says you must be affordable housing developer to be on, like, the board must have a representative, and then we say subsequently that representative can no longer pursue funds from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, it stands to reason that no developer will want to be on the board, and then you now no longer can fill that seat, right? So I completely agree we shouldn't have the conflict. What I'm saying is, I don't know that the other parts of the law that incorporate the Affordable Housing Trust Fund don't mandate that those people are on the board, and so we're creating a situation where we then can't fill a seat. Those are my questions. That's why I need somebody that can answer those types of questions.
Councilman Bratcher.
I agree with that 100%, but it just seems like if this is crafted, and this may be the whole thing, me coming from the legislature, we had the LRC who worked specifically for the legislature, and now we've got to go to the county attorney, a different office, to get his or her opinions and whatnot. But my thinking would be that the sponsor, working with the Jefferson County attorney drafting this bill, would surely have come across that by now. I mean, it just seems like, how many times have we tabled this thing?
It's a complex question. Kevin?
Double-digit weeks, months? I mean, it's, so, that's just where I'm at, and I'm just learning, so thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Go ahead, Councilman Reed. Go ahead.
Councilman Reed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think what we're saying here isn't that someone from the development community cannot be on this, on this board, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. We're not saying that. At least I don't think that's what this legislation says. I think what it's saying is that this person or persons cannot apply for funding while serving on this board. So, that's how I'm looking at it, and I agree with that. I mean, we had a situation where we approved someone on the board who then came back, signed an affidavit or letter stating that she would not apply for funding, and then came back and did it, or now wants to recant the letter and apply for funding. That's what this legislation is trying to prevent. I do think that it can be improved. I agree with Councilman Liniger that it should be consistent. The clauses should make sense one section to the next. And I think that can be fixed with an amendment. Thank you.
Councilman Leninger.
Respectfully, I'm not sure that they should match. That's my question, because because again, it might be that the answer to my question lies in a mandated seat for a not-for-profit member is mandated. And if that person is mandated, if we have to have a nonprofit person on the board, then it makes sense for there to be some kind of carve-out that, yes, we could have a nonprofit that applies, and they just have to recuse themselves from the room, they can't be they cannot read into the record, they can't vote. That's what I'm asking, is that why there's a carve-out? These are my questions, and again, when we, to answer Councilman Bratcher, when we have these items that are before the committee, and it's our job at committee is to ask questions, because once it gets to the Metro Council floor, we can't ask, someone from the gallery to come and speak unless we have a suspension of the rules and such. Then, when, the sponsor has worked in concert with the county attorney to craft the legislation, then that person might be able to, offer, this is, like this for this reason, or this is, why we have to have this. I don't think that asking questions means that I'm in opposition to the legislation. I am not. I think that we should be good stewards of public trust and public resources, especially for a board that deals in pretty large sums of money. It's a question of, is this legislation written in such a way that we are not going to have to come back in 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 months, whatever, and say, oh, we got to go fix what we just did, instead of, have we dotted the i's and crossed the t's. That's all I'm saying is I just wanted to know, is that the reason for the carve-out, for example?
Bear with us, folks. Councilman Winkler?
Yeah, and I would just add, Councilman Bratcher, to your point that this is sat in committee, this item has not been called. I mean, today is the first time, we briefly had discussion 2 weeks ago. At that meeting, I said, when we discuss this item, I would like the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to come here because I've got questions. So yes, the item has sat there, but we've never really discussed, this is the first time we've had any meaningful conversation, and it seems like the people who, at least I would like to ask these questions of, are not here. And so I would make a motion to table.
Madam Chair.
There's a motion before us, so unless it's, I think that we've got to vote on the motion before us.
Madam Chair.
We've got to vote on it unless Marcus wants to take his vote back. Otherwise, we're looking for a second.
Let's hear what the sponsor
Marcus,
has to
do you
say.
take your motion back so Councilwoman Purvis can?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, I couldn't unmute, yes.
Thank you. Councilwoman Purvis?
Thank you, Councilman Winkler. I really think we're making more out of this than what it is. We, as Councilman Reed said and Councilman Bratcher said, we just want to make sure that there are no conflicts of interest with board members taking advantage of being on these boards, especially when there is a board that has access to capital. It's like I'm a council person, and I have a nonprofit, and I'm going to apply for a grant through my office. That's a conflict. Same thing. Simple as that. That's all I'm saying. It's not a good look. It would not be a good look for me to apply for public funding, and I'm a council person. It's not a good look to be on a board and to access capital to further your profitability. It's not a good look. This is why this legislation is necessary. And no matter if Louisville Affordable Housing Trust Fund was here, there's nothing that they could say that would convince me of anything different. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Winkler, I will get to you in just one moment, but I do want to make it very clear that from what I'm hearing, there is not an argument of, yes, people should get money or no, they should get money. It's not, I'm pro-corruption, and there are folks in this room that are anti-corruption. I think everyone agrees that this legislation is needed, but I think that there's housekeeping that has been brought up as concern. And as chair of this ad hoc committee, I can't recall a time that this has not been lurking on my agenda. And it was pulled, it was reintroduced, it was, we're not going to deal with it because the gal that this is targeting wrote a letter, but then she didn't write a letter, and we have to talk about this, but we don't have to talk about this. And all I'm saying is that there is nothing about this on fire, and I think respectfully, people on this committee are asking this to be tabled so we can make sure that we have appropriate people in here next time to address it and do our due diligence. So unless there is a reason that this needs to be passed before November, I really don't understand why we cannot be respectful of our colleagues and table this. Councilman Wengler.
I would make a motion to table.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, can I do a voice vote? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Would you like a roll call? I think you lose, and, well, you lose. So the ayes have it.
I'll say table.
The ayes have it. And we will discuss this at the October 22nd meeting. And Councilman Winkler, we will make sure that the Affordable Housing Trust Fund is invited and is able to speak on it. Okay. Thank you all for your time. This has been tabled. So getting to our agenda, I just want to remind everyone that this is not, you're called in here because you're in the hot seat. We just want to learn more about you. We have over 65 boards and commissions, and we're trying our best in this calendar year to understand all we can about them. And so I don't want anyone to feel attacked. We're just trying to learn more about you. Obviously, we're way over on time. Thank you all so very much for being in this room and being patient with us. I know that it's a big ask because we all have lives outside of this. Because of that, each board and commission I give 15 minutes to. I set a timer. Best way that I would say to spend that time, about 7 minutes giving a presentation, talking about your board, and then the other 7 minutes, or 7 minutes plus some change, allowing some questions from the committee. And if we get out, that's early, in your time limit, that's great, but that's seldom the key. So sit tight, folks. First, we've got the Louisville Film Commission. This is going to be an interesting one because we really don't have a film commission, but we do have a film commission. And if you look in your packet, everyone, or all of your items, there's 2 presentations. One is from Jess Kincaid, who is the director of the Office of Arts and Creative Industries. And then there's another one from Susie Eastman, who's also here with us today, who represents Film Louisville, but I might have that all wrong, but you'll correct me in just a moment. So Jessica, maybe it would be best if you could kick things off for us, and then we'll turn it over to your presentation, Ms. Eastman, and then we'll do questions. Great.
How's that? Great, thank you. Jessica Kincaid, Director of Metro's Office of Arts and Creative Industries. I wanted to share with you, I know I have a lot of lengthy text on slides, which may not be everyone's favorite, but there's a lot of information to share. So I wanted to start with the executive order that established the Louisville Film Advisory Commission in 2015. Here you can kind of see the enumeration of duties. You have this in your packet. I won't read them all aloud for you. The commission was required to meet a minimum of 2 times per year with additional meetings called ad hoc as necessary by either the chair or the mayor. You can see the the mandated composition of this advisory commission. I want to speak specifically to the last one, which was at least 10 members consisting of people interested and or involved in film industry related creative industries as appointed by the mayor. Not to say a hot button word right now, but this created a conflict of interest in the best practice standards as laid out by the Association of Film Commissioners International, in that people working on a film commission, conducting the business, sort of standard business of a film commission, should not be actively involved in the film industry if they're advising on policy or potentially, doing work that intersects with incentives to attract productions, or potentially utilizing those incentives themselves to produce films. So the commission was reimagined through a public-private partnership. The Office of Arts and Creative Industries put out an RFP for a nonprofit partner who was engaged in all of the types of work that we would like to see undertaken by a film commission, which includes, concierge services to productions, marketing our incentive at the state level, marketing Louisville as a attractive destination for film production, providing workforce development training, kind of getting a really good handle on what the local crew and resource opportunities are as they exist, and pipelines for developing those further. So we put out this RFP. I'm listing some of the requirements of the scope of work that we included in that RFP here on this slide. And 502 Film was selected as the film agency partner for Louisville Metro. It is a 1-year contract, renewable up to 4 times for a total of 5 years before procurement states that we need to rebid it. It does come with a $65,000 annual compensation contract. And in that partnership arrangement, Louisville Metro government will hold the film commission membership status with the Association of Film Commissioners International. So we are registered on that database. When people in the industry are going to look for, maybe I'm considering filming in Louisville, what's the point of contact? 502 Film is listed as a film liaison in the area. Metro government is still going to be responsible for issuing any necessary local permits. We are going to try to track through that permitting process the data on local production types and budgets that are not being captured through the state incentive level tracking. And a Metro government representative will serve ex officio on our film partner agency's board. Again, the film agency partner will hold the AFCI film liaison membership, and they are requested to report back to Metro government on film business at regularly scheduled intervals. We have specified through that contract the types of services we want to see 502 Film conducting on our behalf in the ways that they're better able to. I tried to make that quick.
You did really great.
Okay.
I guess, Susie, are you ready to take the torch? Absolutely. All right, fantastic.
Go ahead and cue my microphone. And there we go. So thank you so much. So 502 Film was founded in 2022 as we have one of the most generous film tax incentives in the United States here in the state of Kentucky. Louisville is home to the majority of crew members for our film production, as well as majority of vendors. However, when we had this generous film tax incentive come to be, it also eliminated a marketing budget from the state, and therefore I formed 502 Film in order to promote the city of Louisville and the collar counties to productions to the state of Kentucky. As you can see, our mission is to connect visiting productions and now also help to uplift local productions with connecting to crew, accommodations, equipment rental, and established vendors. So just a quick snapshot of our film tax incentive. This is from the state level, not from the city level. We are looking at 30 to 35% refundable tax incentive. This is incredibly generous, and we have a $75 million cap per year. So what does that mean for the city of Louisville? Well, that means that we have job growth through talent attraction and retention. We have infrastructure growth. The Louisville Gardens sound stages have been something that we've been promoting coming to our region. We were thrilled for that, attracting post houses and investment and different sort of vendors that can support the industry attraction and the infrastructure growth. It also means we have revenue generation in the form of tax dollars, room nights, investment attraction, and a tourism increase. To give you an idea of the numbers, if you look at 2022, we have $118 million of budgets that we're considering coming to Louisville and had applied for the incentive. In 2023, that was $67 million. In 2024, that's $42 million. We are on track for increased growth every single year. Louisville is continuing to expand our workforce, our vendors, and some of the great growth that we have is we have organizations here now like Women in Film. We now have a local IATSE chapter. We have crew that is working full-time. They do not need to go to Nashville, to Chicago, to New York, to Atlanta to work full-time. They're able to do that right here. The reason celebrity attraction is important is because they utilize social media and different avenues to let people know where they are enjoying their productions, and oftentimes they will do some posts from mom and pop shops across from Louisville that will attract thousands of eyes to those areas, and then we have tourism that then goes to those stores, to those restaurants, and that's a very big deal for our community. 502 Film serves Louisville and the Collier counties by going out and marketing our film tax incentive and what we have here. A lot of productions are looking to house their films in an area where there is a lot of diversity within a 30 to 60 mile zone. Louisville has that. Think about dystopian warehouses, think about our beautiful downtown area, think about the rolling hills, Bardstown. We have a lot of different options here when people call Louisville their home base. We go to Sundance and we host a reception there annually. From that reception, a deal was done that attracted Gus Van Zant's $10 million film Dead Man's Wire that is now going to be undergoing an Oscar campaign and has it was just sold at Toronto. So we have a lot of interest in our city now. Workforce development, we have about 900 registered crew in the area. So we have an uptick not only in workforce development and in taxpayers here calling filmmaking their profession. We have infrastructure developments from the Louisville Gardens to other studio opportunities. We had the Sundance Film Festival considering us as a finalist, and we have nowhere to go but up in this beautiful city. So we appreciate the support of all of our council members as we look to increase the economic impact of this sector. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. All right, you're both efficient. Love that. Thank you. So could you tell me when you entered into that private-public partnership, what year that was?
We signed the contract in September of last year. I can get you the exact date in September if you wish.
So if you could kind of piece it together for me, the 502 Film is not the Film Commission, but an arm of the Film Commission?
Officially, the Film Commission is inactive. It's not really a body or a term that we're using within Metro government at the moment. It gets a little bit nebulous because Metro government does hold the Film Commission membership level with AFCI, but we do not have a body known as the Film Commission at this point.
And if there were a Louisville Film Commission, they would be required, and they're under local ordinance, right?
It's executive order.
Okay. So there should be, by my count, 13 members, and 3 of those members are very specific to Actors Theater, Kentucky Center for the Arts, and the Kentucky State Film Office. But we don't have this commission whatsoever, but if we did, they'd be working with Ms. Eastman and her organization.
If you don't mind if I speak to that. So colloquially in the film industry, a film commission is expected to do certain things on behalf of a city or region, and therefore it became very confusing and also a conflict of interest when a production would reach out to the Louisville Film Commission expecting what is offered by description by the by the Association of Film Commissioners International. By its definition, there should not be a conflict of interest. I should not be getting hired by productions that are coming to town. My job is to serve my community and not my personal interests. When there is a Louisville Film Advisory Commission that is comprised of all industry members. All of those people are privy to the productions that are coming to town. They would be representing our city and their interests, and so therefore, we were not able to be the industry-facing members of the community because that would be in conflict of interest of what a film commission is supposed to do in the film industry.
So it's kind of like we have a film commission, but we don't have a film commission, but we contract out with 502 Film, or is it called the Louisville Film Office?
So because of the work that we do nationally facing, we have DBA'd as the Louisville Film Office, and therefore people reach out to us knowing that we do the work of a film office or film commission. Both of those are used kind of equally within the film industry. So people reach out to us knowing that we do the work of a film commission or film office at 502 Film. But again, we are now referred to nationally as the Louisville Film Office. 502 Film is our local arm that does workforce development, that carries our nonprofit 501c3, and then we have a DBA for our national work and our production attraction and marketing, which is referred to as the Louisville Film Office. We did not want one step standing in the way of people saying, wow, where is this film incentive offered, and where is 502? We wanted people to immediately know that the best incentive, the best crew, right here in Louisville, Kentucky.
And Councilman Reed, did you?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of things. Thank you for coming. So 502 Film Office is essentially an arm of Metro government.
Not exactly. We're in a public-private partnership with 502 Film. They're acting as our agent in a variety of different capacities as a film commission function. So just to give a little bit of context that maybe fills in some of the gaps for your last question, municipalities operate film commissions in a variety of different ways. They may have a staff person that is the film commissioner, that would, in our case, be a Metro government employee. Sometimes the municipality will designate a completely external entity, a standalone nonprofit, as the film commission for that municipality. Because of the way that we operate permitting and things of that nature, we decided that we wanted to, 502 Film is not equipped to issue permits on behalf of Metro government, so we're retaining certain functions that are necessarily government functions, but we're leveraging assets or partnerships that already exist in our community so that we're not trying to duplicate work if they already have those connections in terms of marketing, production attraction, things that maybe Metro government wouldn't be best suited to pursue.
And I get that. I understand.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to understand. So we are paying, Metro government is paying 502 Film to be basically our outreach.
Yep.
Okay. How many people on your staff of 502?
There are 3 of us.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier navigating through regulations, and if there's one thing I know in this city, we love our regulations. So is there any roadblocks that you feel like that you're hitting that maybe that the council and certain committees can look at?
I have not found any. Quite honestly, this has been incredibly efficient. I have loved working with Jessica and with our city. We have had a fantastic partnership over the last year where we've been able to access all of our Metro options we have here, from police, EMT, locations, parks, et cetera. It has proven to be very fortuitous, and then when she has a question specifically about our productions that are coming to town, I'm able to answer them. We keep track of all of the attraction that we have here, as well as the economic impact that it has on our community. So I've found it to be very little red tape and a lot of efficiency.
Okay, good. And my last question is with regard to Louisville Gardens. Do you know where we are in that project in terms of renovation? And I'm sure you're going to say that it's going to be a huge help, which I hope it is, because that facility is laying dormant for way too long. I know that it's been earmarked for renovating for this purpose. So can you tell us where we are with that?
Absolutely. So I cannot speak necessarily on behalf of the developers, as I am not one, but I can let you know that I believe they are very close to, if not have just recently had groundbreaking. They're looking at late 2027, from what I understand. I would like to add that there have been additional interested parties that have been considering other fresh studio builds. And another fantastic thing to speak, Councilman Reed, to the point of these empty or dormant buildings, is if you look at the former Courier-Journal building at 6th and Broadway, there is a beautiful press hall that has been laying empty, and it has now shot 10 films there in this past year, including Dead Man's Wire, which was just at Toronto and at the Venice International Film Festival. So what I'm finding that's fantastic is we are utilizing these empty buildings downtown. We're putting production offices and films into them and making use of this fantastic architecture we have in our community.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Councilman Bratcher?
Well, I think this is great. You know, I was in Frankfurt when, I keep bringing that up all the time. I'm a former state representative. I'll just make sure you never. No, it's just, I was there when we created the, I guess, gosh, it's been about 8 years, or I don't know, it's been a while. But Kentucky is doing the heavy lifting, right? And Louisville is just trying to be part of the conduit between the movie and the money, right?
Absolutely, yes. So we have, the incentive is operated out of the Cabinet for Economic Development at the state level. There is a Kentucky Film Leadership Council, in which I was very honored to be appointed to by the governor because of my service here in our city of Louisville. And so we make sure that our incentive is protected for the interest of taxpayers, and yet generous enough that it attracts productions to our state, because it's really that fine line that you want to balance and what is best for our state, and also still generous to attract those dollars. That is a volunteer position that is just a few hours per month, along with some other individuals from across the state. The heavy lifting is absolutely done at the state level in terms of the incentive program, but the marketing is really, and the workforce development is what is handled by the different regions. And so I'm very honored to represent the Louisville area.
And one last, so this is a board ad hoc committee, and what boards are we talking about? Are we just talking about one board today? Mm-hmm. And that's the Louisville Commission Board, this one.
The Film Advisory Commission.
You just said Louisville Commission.
One rep from Actors Theater, one rep from Kentucky. Now, this is a Louisville created commission that Metro is created.
Correct. So that composition that was on that slide is the composition that was outlined in the executive order establishing the Louisville Film Advisory Commission. That commission, the Film Advisory Commission, is not active currently.
Right.
We have basically replaced the work that was outlined in that executive order, and in that work, scope of work is being performed through this public-private partnership between the Office of Arts and Creative Industries and 502 Film.
Okay, and I would just be one caution thing. There's a lot of voices in Frankfurt that don't like this, believe me, but there's more that do. But really, you want to show what benefit it's bringing to the taxpayer in the long run, because that's what it's all about, really.
Absolutely, and if I can just speak to the fact that out of 120 counties in Kentucky, 80 have had film production in them since the inception of this most recent incentive in 2022. And it is very, very important that north, south, east, west benefit from this. Again, my interest lies specifically in Louisville and in our collar counties. However, a win for Kentucky is a win for all of us. And as you mentioned, it is very important that Clay County, where Senator Stivers, who's a huge proponent of this film incentive bill, he lives, and that people in his community are being employed by film. So yes, we recognize the importance of all tides rising together. However, Louisville Metro is my focus.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And we are up on time, but I do want to honor Councilman Lenninger. You got into the queue beforehand, so if you'd like to.
That's all right. I can take it offline.
Sure. Well, I just have one more thing, and I'm definitely leaving here with more of an understanding today, but I'm still confused. And I think a lot of that, too, is we have this executive order that outlines that this commission needs to happen, and I think that even though, I'm not saying replace 502 Film, But does the commission need to be in place? Because they are overseeing things like permits, policy, and, maybe even overseeing the Louisville Gardens build-out. And so, is there a need for that? Are people from Actors Theater, Kentucky Center for the Arts, and the Kentucky State Film Office, which I guess, Susie, that would be you, but do they have a seat at the table? And so I guess my whole question is, we need it, but we're not using it, and we're kind of lying by saying that we have it. And so what is the guidance you would give to this committee, and what do we do with the Louisville Film Commission? Do we overturn the executive order and just, what do we do? Because
Right.
it needs to be cleaned up.
Yes, and we were aware of that when we set out on this path. At the same time, I know you're aware, we are working through the Comprehensive Cultural Strategic Plan right now, which will include some recommendations about that. And so we, conferred with the county attorney, and we tabled action on the executive order until we had an understanding of what recommendations were going to come out of the cultural plan.
I guess we'll stay tuned, but if you have any recommendations outside of this, or just want to shoot us an email, we're happy. This is for everyone. We're not doing any action after this meeting. We're going to compile everything at the end of this and have a comprehensive overview of all of the boards and commissions and recommendations that we can discuss of each of those. So a lot of work in compiling this, but thank you so much for your time and being here.
Thank you all.
Thank you. And while you're switching out seats, we're going to call up the Redevelopment Authority, and we have Jeff O'Brien and Katie Littman here to talk. This is under KRS Statute Authority, a local ordinance. They meet as needed, and they have 9 members, and I believe that Councilwoman Rui, in full transparency, is one of those members. So, Mr. O'Brien, if you'd like to take it over.
Jeff O'Brien, Executive Director of Louisville Economic Development. I've also got our Chair of the Louisville Redevelopment Authority Board, Deborah Belitsky, with me here this afternoon. So as you stated, this board was formed in the 1990s for one purpose and one purpose only, really, and that's to manage the former Naval Ordnance Station at 163 Rochester Drive. That facility, some of you may know, this was a former U.S. Navy installation that has been in our community since the 1940s and had been managed and operated by the U.S. Navy until the time that the U.S. Military's Base Reduction and Consolidation Act, or BRAC, came into being. That again happened in the late 1990s. At that point, the property was transferred from the U.S. Navy to Louisville Metro government, specifically the Louisville Redevelopment Authority. That property was, excuse me, one day the folks came to work at that facility and they were U.S. Navy employees. The next day they came to work, they were private. They were private contractors for private companies. And that's the way that process worked. We were one of the few privatization in place situations that happened across the country. For the board specifically, this is a nonprofit corporation. It's an authority of Louisville Metro government established under KRS 273-160 and KRS 58.180. There are 6 voting members that are appointed by the Louisville mayor and approved by Metro Council. They're approved for 3-year terms. There are 3 ex officio members. Councilwoman Rui is one of those ex officio members. David Kaplan represents the mayor's office, and then there is a representative of Congressman McGarvey's office as well. The board members. The voting board members elect officers from their membership. So there's a chair. Mrs. Belitsky is the chair. There's also a vice chair and a treasurer. And the LRA, the primary function they do, again, they manage our contractor, which is Titan. Titan manages the site. They manage the primary tenants. The 2 primary tenants on the site are BAE Systems and Raytheon. They are still major defense contractors for the U.S. Navy. So their primary role as LRA is to oversee that lease. We have an annual meeting where we review the annual report that Titan provides us and appoints officers. We can also meet as needed. There is a budget associated with this board. We collect rent the LRA collects rent on a lease that they have with Titan that runs until March 23rd, 2103. So that is, I did not misspeak on that date. That was a lease that was entered into in 2006. It's been renewed with some performance measures. The rent that Titan paid to the LRA for the site was just over $200,000, which again, historically, we've used that money to provide workforce grants for people working directly on the site and grants to the Beachmont Youth Sports, which are also on the north side of that site, for those of you that might be familiar with the Beachmont Sports, Beachmont Youth Sports Little League fields there on Rochester Drive. That's what I have on Titan, or on the Louisville Redevelopment Authority at the moment. I'm happy to answer any questions. If you have any questions for Ms. Belitsky, she is also here as well. So.
Thank you. And that rent is $200,000 a year?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I should also say, there's also a pilot payment that comes to Metro government separate from the rent and to Jefferson County Public Schools. The pilot payment that was issued this year was $473,000. That's a payment in lieu of taxes.
Right. All right. So it's incredible how often I come across a lease in Louisville Metro that's like a 100-year bit. It's ridiculous. I think that's the same year that Jackie Kennedy's pink dress and pillbox hat comes out of storage in the National Archives.
That's also
I just found that out yesterday. How random, right?
It's also in the New York Mets contract with Bobby Bonilla expired as well, so.
Big year, but we won't be around to see it. Who knows? So one of the things that I have with this board, can we change the name of it? The Naval Ordnance Authority?
Sure, we can change the name to whatever you want. We'd have to change our articles of incorporation and bylaws, but, it's filing with the Secretary of State, so.
It's misleading. And what are you currently working on? Like,
So right now.
collect the rent, and then what happens? with
Yeah,
that
so
rent?
primarily what this board does, again, is they monitor, so Titan provides us, our contractor provides us with an annual report, which says their activities. They are solely responsible for maintaining the buildings, maintaining the property, the activities of tenants moving in and out of the buildings on the site. So the board's job is really to oversee Titan. In addition to that, the board will also issue grants. Historically, we've had a grant with Kentuckiana Works to do some industrial training on site. We've not needed that with the benefit of our strong industrial market right now. We also administer grants to the Beachmont Youth Sports, since they are also on the site. So that's really what we're working on. Right now, the work that we're undertaking is there are several large corporations on the site are looking to make some expansions, so we're working with the board and those groups to expand on the site.
What is it that Titan does?
Titan is they are our contractor. They manage our leases, so they are effectively for the tenants that are in the facility. They are their landlord.
Okay, and how many tenants are there at the Naval Ordnance, do you know?
Let me look. I can get you a precise number, but it is.
Roundabout's okay.
Yeah, it's approximately 20. I'll get you an exact number on that.
Sure. Anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns?
Jeff, do you, this is an active board, it doesn't need any oversight, and we don't need to dissolve it?
No, so there'd be problems in dissolving. Again, having the authority here is really necessary so that we can manage this contractor, having the tenants moving in and out. And the city chose to do that with authority versus one of its existing boards. I wasn't here when that happened, so why the reasoning behind that, I can't speak to, but it is an active board. We do have active members. I believe all of our terms are current. There might be a couple that are coming up for expiration, but are renewable in October of this year. So we have our annual meeting. We review the packet. If we have grants that we have in front of us, we will administer those through the board. Again, if we have large large projects with Titan that to expand on the site, there is room for expansion on the site. The board would consider those as well.
Any other questions? And Marcus, if you are around, I cannot see you. You're just a table with a glass of water. Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you.
All right. Still had 4 minutes left. Let's see. Next, we're going to go to the Louisville Regional Airport Authority, and I believe we have Brenda Perry here to talk about that. And this is under KRA statute, local ordinance. They meet on the third Wednesday of every month, and there's 11 members with no vacancies. And with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Perry.
Good evening. I'm here representing the Louisville Regional Airport Authority. I'm Senior Vice President, Chief Legal and Administrative Officer of the board. We are an 11-member board. 7 members are appointed by Louisville Metro Mayor. The mayor also sits on the board, and then 3 members are appointed by the governor. We don't actually meet every month. We meet approximately 7 times a year to kind of handle the affairs of the board. We were initially established in 1928 under the 1928 legislature as the Air Board of Louisville and Jefferson County, and then through name changes in the 80s became the Louisville Regional Airport Authority. We're responsible for establishing and maintaining airports and air navigation facilities in the region, and through that we do Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport and Bowman Field. We are certainly big in cargo. This year we're going to be number 1 in North America and actually 3rd in the world in cargo. We are the home of UPS Worldport, and so a great deal of our activity does come from that and being a cargo leader on the global scene. We have more than 35 nonstop destinations. We're always working on our air service development, and we have more Kentuckians that fly out of SDF than any airport in the Commonwealth. Most people would think that might be our neighbors to the north, but they serve a lot of Ohioans, and we certainly serve more Kentuckians with more than 180,000 operations every year, and over 120,000 out of Bowman. We recently had an economic impact statement done, and we have $13 billion in economic output for the region and $550 million in tax revenue generated through UPS Worldport, through our passenger activity, through all the stores and the restaurants, and all the construction that is happening on a daily basis at the airport. We establish our own regulations. As you understand that air service, air travel, and air navigation is highly regulated by the federal government, and so we do set regulations to kind of establish the framework of how we're going to operate safely in the region and in accordance with FAA and TSA regulations. So I can answer any questions if anyone has any for me.
Okay, Councilman Bratcher.
Oh, I've got a lot of questions, but just really good ones. Like, last time I talked to Mr. Mann, I think it was.
Yes.
And I don't know if this is secret or not, but we were going to get some direct flights to Seattle.
Yes, that is still on the horizon. They are still working actively to try to get nonstop to Seattle. That is our next goal.
It's just really hard for a size of Louisville to get a direct flight, right?
Not necessarily. Louisville, Kentucky generally, and Louisville specifically, are really being known for bourbonism, and so we certainly have people that are asking for us. We had a nonstop to Austin for a while. Austin asked for us. We've got Nashville now, nonstop to Nashville, and so we are really making our statement not only nationally.
What does that mean, asked for us? I don't follow.
That means that we don't necessarily have to say, hey, we want a nonstop to Seattle, or we want a nonstop to Austin, because Louisvillians want to go there. We have Austin saying, hey, can we get a nonstop to Louisville?
Oh, okay.
And so really that's how some of those are happening when we have the capacity
So what
for
keeps it from happening? Just the airports?
No, I think the airlines are looking at their schedules, and they're also looking to see, okay, what is the appetite for it? Do we really have a lot of people from Seattle wanting to come to Louisville, and do we have a lot of people? It's behinds and seats, and so can they fill those behinds and seats?
And then also, I was really active in, you learned all about my history in this committee, but I was really active when we transferred the Minor Lane Heights out to Heritage Creek.
Yes.
And I had that area in there when Joe Cordino and when all those guys were there, and Paul Patton, and we would have some really intimate meetings with the people there because we had to remove their city and replant it. But what I've been told in the past is that you guys left quite a few folks that are still suffering from the noise problem. Are you familiar with what I'm saying?
I am familiar with that. Yes, we had that program for about 20 years, and I started working for the board in about 2011, and probably for at least 8 years, we had the Corradino Group, et cetera, actively knocking on doors saying, hey, we've got some funds, from some federal funding. Let's get your house appraised, let's see if we can make a deal. Some people just didn't want to sell. I think they thought it might have been another opportunity down the road, but that federal funding only lasts so long. And we did move over 1,000 businesses, churches, and families voluntarily. And I think really the Heritage Creek project was really one of our most successful ones, because at some point in the 80s, there got to be a lack of capacity for houses of those specific amount. So say they had a $70,000 house. Well, there were so many people involved in the program, there got to be a deficiency of $70,000 houses. And so that's why we worked to create the area in Heritage Creek that's now Heritage Creek. So if Joe lived next to Bob, in Minor Lane Heights, well, Joe could get a lot next to Bob and they can build their homes from scratch. And if they wanted to, get a bigger house, then they pay the difference. But that was really a means to try to keep those communities together. And so that was really one of our most successful endeavors there, and that ultimately became the city of Heritage Creek.
Well, in hindsight, it really was successful. And they would tell me, because I was representing the people, and they were always mad, right?
Yes.
But they said these engines, you got to go back 20 years ago, you say these engines that these planes have are going to get so much more quieter. And you know what they have? They've gotten a whole lot quieter than they were at the 00 years. And it's really been great. One last question. Is there ever talk about making another runway?
No, but what we are doing is we are connecting some of our runways. We're doing some taxiways in between them so they can have a little bit more efficiency. They don't want to have to go way down and then turn around, that they can kind of cut across. But nothing on the horizon for another runway, but just some activities in our current footprint to make it more efficient, a little bit more safe.
UPS is happy with the airport?
They're delighted, yes. It's a very good partnership. They're doing great, and we do all that we can to support them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So does the Louisville Regional Airport Authority oversee things such as the renovation of the airport?
Yes.
What about we're not a true international airport, we're only an international airport because of UPS.
Currently, yes.
And we've been trying to make a move into going international on the side of consumers.
Correct.
Can you give an update about that?
Yes, our board recently approved an FIS, and that is the facility that you would need to accept international flights. Our board recently approved that. We are actually in the process of having our architects develop what that would look like, and then trying to secure funding for it.
And you all also oversee concessions and vendors?
Yes.
How is that? Do we have do we have vacancy? Is that?
No, we don't have vacancies. We are all full in terms of our concessions, news and gift, and food vendors. We actually are we've just been nominated for Book and Bourbon Southern Kitchen as one of the top 10 restaurants at any airport in the country, and so we've recently been nominated, so we're really proud of our food, news and gift concepts.
Some would argue that's Chili's, but let's see. What about the geothermal project? Did you all also oversee that?
Yes, the geothermal project, that was.
And that's been completed?
Yes.
And that's going well?
It's going well, and we hope to realize about $400,000 a year in savings from the geothermal project.
That's great. And then Quieter Homes Project, that's something that my office gets questions about a lot, and that's the windows and insulation roofs and whatnot to make a quieter home because of proximity to the airport. We heard that there is no money, but then we heard that there is money, but there is also a 3-year waiting list because you don't have enough contractors. So can you kind of speak to that program?
Yes, that is an FAA program. We routinely received several $1 million in grant funding for that. Eligibility for that is determined by looking at a map, and then there's testing in specific areas that the FAA designates. So we have a consultant that will go in and test the noise levels in those areas, and some people will qualify and some people will not. And then if they do, we try to contact the owner, see if they're amenable to doing that. In return, we get an navigation easement above, but we do put everything in at no cost to them, whether it's storm windows, storm doors, they might need an updated HVAC system, whatever it would take to make that a quieter home because they're noise impacted.
And so we can still refer folks to that program?
Yes, it's very active, and we've recently, I think we awarded 2 contracts to contractors this year alone, so.
Fantastic. And my last thing, and if anybody else has anything, no one's in my queue, could you kind of speak to, do you all oversee or manage your relationship with UPS? And, they're obviously have their Worldport there, but I've heard rumor that the tariffs have severely been impacting imports. And so what's your relationship with UPS? And should we be concerned at all for losing our Worldport?
I don't think that we have to be concerned about losing Worldport. They're very happy here at the airport. We talk to UPS on a daily basis. They're the most busy and active partners we have on the runways and taxiways. So I don't think we have to have any concern. We do all that we can to make sure that they're good. And of course, they just built a very big, very expensive hangar that we opened up last year. So.
I talked to someone that does housekeeping at UPS, and they said that there were extra people working last Thursday night because of Taylor Swift's album. And I thought that was just crazy. I believe it, but wow, crazy. Anybody else have any questions? Okay. All right, well, thank you so much for your time, Ms. Perry.
Thank you.
I see you got up 7th inning stretch, right? We're almost at the end of it. Next up, we're going to have the Greater Louisville Lodging Management District, and that's going to be Eamon O'Brien. So I'll just let you take it here.
Thank you. Great pronunciation. It's a tricky one.
Did I get it right?
Perfect.
Former Councilman Mulvihill was also an Eamon.
Okay. Very cool.
Irish, I assume.
Exactly. O'Brien, Eamon de Valera, first president of Ireland. So thank you for having me. I know I'll go as quick as I can. We just presented, well, I say just, August 19th to the Board Approval Committee as well as June 16th to the Budget Approval Meeting, so there may be some duplication. But thank you for being here. We are the Greater Louisville Lodging Management District. We are doing business as Louisville Hotel Partnership. So alphabet soup, LHP, Louisville Hotel Partnership. If you hear that, it's the same entity. It's just easier. GLLMD is a mouthful. So we are, through ordinance, we are a self-assessment, so the Tourism Improvement District is all of Jefferson County. If you're a hotel of 51 or greater hotel rooms, you have a self-assessment. We are having the consumers pay that assessment, so this costs Louisville taxpayers $0. So it's a self-assessed thing that this board approved. It's 1.5%. We were the 206th United States city to do this. Lexington just incorporated theirs approximately 12 months ago. So we thank the board for their support, and this board has to approve, full Metro Council has to approve our budget on an annual basis and will going forward on a go-forward basis. So there's good visibility to the board. And we also have Councilman Jeff Hudson, as well as Deputy Mayor Dana Maiden, currently serving on our board, as well as Councilman Winkler, formerly on our board as well. So we have a budget of about $7.7 million. These dollars can be used per ordinance for 2 things and 2 things only. Number 1 is to drive incremental room nights into the payees, which are hotels in Jefferson County over 51 rooms. The second is for tourism infrastructure. So it's a good segue from our friends at SDF Airport. we have $1.7 million in our budget to try to attack and to steal direct flights from other destinations. So working on that domestically and internationally. We don't have any wins yet, but we have those dollars allocated. I'm excited to hear that the board approved the inbound customs that are going to be necessary to get international flights. So aspirationally, we are going after Toronto and Dublin because they have the U.S. Customs on their side of the border, but we're involved in that as well for one of the pieces for tourism infrastructure. The second is really workforce development, as well as giving the community of Louisville more of an understanding of hospitality as a potential career path. So we partner with the University of Louisville on developing a minor program. That's a 5-year commitment of $550,000. The goal being to move that to a major, which University of Kentucky has, and several other schools in the region do have those. To be more competitive in this space, those are the things that we're trying to attack on the tourism infrastructure side. The majority of our budget goes to trying to retain programs like Equip Expo you've probably seen around town. That's been here for multiple decades. There are several cities that are trying to steal that piece of business from Louisville as we speak. So trying to protect our assets here as well as go steal business from other cities. That's what those dollars are really geared to do, to directly benefit the hotels of 51 or greater room nights in Jefferson County. That's really the mission of our board. We do our best to be fiduciaries of that, the tourism infrastructure and the anchor on room nights. That's really what we're driving towards. And we have great visibility with Metro Council, current and former board members as well, to make sure that we are those fiduciaries.
Thank you. One of my only question, and thank you, I know you've been before us, and I feel like we talk about the Louisville Lodging Management District a lot, but that 51 rooms or more, especially as we see boutique hotels popping up, is that number controlled by local ordinance or state ordinance, and do you feel like it should be lessened?
It is from state ordinance, is the first answer to your question. The second one, that was really to protect the hotel community, Airbnbs. Part of it is every hotel size needs to be represented on the board. So as an example, we have East End, Airport Corridor, downtown, we have small hotels, large hotels. Part of the rationale, this is my speculation, I didn't write the ordinance, part of my speculation is there's a lot of opinions if you have anyone, an Airbnb owner or someone under 51 hotels, boutique hotels aside, and McGrady's right at 50 hotels downtown. But I think that's a fair question, but there's a lot of opinions that you're gonna need to bring to the table, so to speak, to have where these dollars are going to go and allocate them. For an Airbnb customer, frankly, is very different than what a convention traveler would like to do in any of those corridors or Jefferson County. So to make sure that's really important, all of our board members are mayor appointees, and we have to have visibility so it's not just a downtown fund or something that's one part of city, or if we have East End representation, we want to make sure everyone has a seat at the table to be represented to see how can we attack every segment of business in all Jefferson County, because citywides are great, the large conventions are great, but there's a handful of those over the course of 365 days, so we need to attack different areas of the city throughout the year, especially in kind of our shoulder, soft seasons.
Sure. Councilman Bratcher?
No, I was just, interesting discussion. I was just looking what the proper, what's the proper name of your?
Louisville Hotel Partnership, LHP. But the ordinance, you'll see this, the GLLMD. So we changed that about 6 months in. I think one of the earlier presentations, can we change our name? We wanted to change our name too. It's a mouthful, so.
How many rooms does the Grady have? You had mentioned.
I believe they're right at 50. They're very close to that.
Was that purposeful?
I don't know. They were built before we had an ordinance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
50 is a good number.
Yeah.
I don't have any questions unless anybody else does. But thank you so much for waiting for us.
Thank you.
I feel like I could get into the weeds with it, but it is late and I don't want to do that. So
I
if you have any
appreciate that.
questions,
My
I will
childcare does
follow
too.
up.
My childcare appreciates that too. Sole parent this week.
Well, thank you. Have
Cheers.
a good evening.
Thank you all.
And last but not least, we have the Riverport Authority. And come on up. Thank you. And introduce yourself, please.
Thank you very much.
There's the-
Madam Chair and Mr. Vice Chair, I'm Steve Miller. I'm the Executive Director of the Riverport Authority, and I'm accompanied today by David Waske, who's our Board Chair. I'm going to take a couple of minutes of my time and yield to him. It's metaphorically interesting to me that we're last here today because in many ways the Riverport Authority is an unheralded and unknown economic driver in Jefferson County. It would be startling to most folks to think that the Riverport Authority is one of the largest gatherings of employment in Jefferson County. That on an annual basis about 10,000 people work at the Riverport Authority. And so we have not done a great job through time telling our story, and so we're pleased to talk to you two and perhaps the vapors of Councilman Winkler, who appears on the screen here. I'm not exactly sure if he's here or not here, but we're glad to do this. And to tell you briefly that Riverport Authority was created in the mid-'60s by state statute. We're one of 7 now, and we actually got underway in about 1967. The mission set out by state statute is to attract directly or indirectly river-oriented industry and attract industrial and commercial activities into industrial parks. And so that is our mission. And in the beginning, before merger, of course, long before merger, the city and county gave the authority about 2,000 acres in southwest Jefferson County to begin this effort. And they chose that area specifically because southwest part of our county had been historically underinvested in regard to economic development at that time. And so the work began to build out the Riverport area and the Jefferson Riverport International Park, including the extension of the flood wall. And in 1977, the federal government gave the Riverport Authority the ability to oversee Foreign Trade Zone 29, which is designed to operate as a public utility and to encourage foreign commerce and in turn domestic economic activity as well. And that's primarily done by the way that tariffs are treated. And when you bring goods into the country into a foreign trade zone, you don't have to pay the duty on that tariff until it actually enters the domestic economy of the U.S. And that has become very interesting to businesses in the last year or so. And so we've seen a big spike in our activity as a foreign trade zone operator. In 2013, the authority purchased about 200 acres off Dixie Highway, what we call the Dixie Annex now, because we had sold most of the property in the original 2,000-acre footprint for a second industrial park. And so the Foreign Trade Zone 29 has also expanded through the years since its inception and covers not only Jefferson County, but 29 other Kentucky counties. So that's the mission and a little bit of the history of the Riverport Authority. Organizationally, of course, you have a 2-page summary here which summarizes the 17-page annual report that we provided to Metro Council and the mayor under our statutory obligations. I just highlight a couple of things. Number one, Riverport Authority receives no direct funding from Louisville Metro government. We receive our revenue through the sale or lease of real estate, or secondly, payments from the operators of our port facility under long-term lease. Third, through fees paid by railroads for the use of our rail infrastructure. We have 13 miles of railroad that run through our property. Fourth, through fees paid by the foreign trade zone operators and applicants. And fifth, by federal and state grants. Most recently, we received a $1 million grant for developing a new master plan for the best use of our port facility. So we're very aggressive trying to get federal and state grants. We have 6 board members in addition to our board chairman, Mr. Waske. Our vice chair is Ron Carmichael. Our finance committee chair is former councilman Rick Blackwell, who came on board earlier this year. And our other 3 members are Sherry Duff, Bonnie Michael of UPS, and William Summers V. The staff, when you look in the encyclopedia or dictionary under lean and mean, it has our picture. It is myself and our executive vice president, Miguel Zamora, and former Chief Financial Officer of Metro Government, who's part-time CFO for us, Monica Blackwell. We're trying to fill a 4th position right now, and Amy Cubbage is our outside legal counsel. In regards to transparency, we've completely revised our bylaws. Most recently, we have, of course, a detailed annual budget, an independent audit as required by statute, both of which we report to the Kentucky Department of Local Government. We have a website at LouisvilleRiverportAuthority.com that contains information about all our board and committee meetings, as well as our minutes, bylaws, and our annual report. And our board chair will just in a minute comment on other oversight measures. What we do is primarily 6 things. Number one, we market the authority's remaining real property to try to get people to lease it primarily. But we'll sell property as well. We manage these 2 industrial and commercial parks. Third, we collaborate with the operator of our port facility where possible, including the interaction with the railroads using our infrastructure. Fourth, we seek federal and state grants And fifth, we enhance the work of the Foreign Trade Zone 29. And sixth, and perhaps most importantly, for what we need to do right now, we are engaged in strategic and master planning. When I came on board in August of '24, the authority did not have a strategic plan. We've been working diligently toward that, and we're making great strides. You have a chart that shows the 5 pillars of the strategic plan, and we are working aggressively to implement that. So that's my summary of kind of where we are in terms of mission, actions that we undertake right now as we're developing the strategic plan and the strategic planning process. And I'd like to yield, if I might, for a couple of minutes to our board chair to address his view about where we are in carrying out our mission and doing so efficiently.
Thank you, Steve. Hello, my name's Dave Waskey, and as Steve said, I'm the chairman. I'm going to hit on a few comments about the board and oversight. We have a very well-rounded and engaged board. I can't recall a meeting where there hasn't been 100% of the board members there. And more impressive, there's only one board member that, due to her travels, comes in on Zoom, and the rest of them actually show up and attend. Myself personally, I've gone with Steve and our executive VP and toured the Henderson and Owensboro river ports, and then the entire board took a half-a-day field trip and went to Jeffersonville and looked at their river port and spoke with their key personnel. We've also got another trip planned for this month, actually, too. And those trips, I think, are imperative in educating the board and learning exactly the functions of Riverport and seeing the different operations that they have as opposed to we have and the way they're organized. We've also, as Steve said, in the last year we formed 2 committees. We've got an executive committee, which consists of myself, the vice chair, and the finance chair. And the full board has delegated certain responsibilities down to that executive committee. For example, there could be a matter that comes up that requires some emergency action, litigation or something like that, that will, the executive committee will handle. The executive committee also usually meets a week before the full board to set the agenda, give Steve guidance, any reviews, any staff proposals has been put forth, and so forth. The other committee which meets is the Finance Committee, which was organized in the last year. And they meet bi-monthly, and they review the financial statements and the investment policy that's been adopted by the board, and with emphasis on balancing that against the annual budget, which is also approved by the full board. On our strategic, I think I mentioned, who's on the Finance Committee, and it's interesting that actually the Vice Chair is not on there. It's myself, the Vice Chair, and one other member, but the Vice Chair usually stays over for the meeting. As far as strategic plan, we're really in the early stages of evolving our 5-point plan, which pinpoints all the areas that we feel are primarily needed to expand the foreign trade zone, as well as community outreach and so forth. I think Steve gave you a handout on that. And speaking of Steve, his performance has been absolutely outstanding. The board's very pleased with what he's done and put together and since being hired in August of 24, and we recently renewed his contract for the next year, and he's done a wells of a job for us. And now, if you have any further questions, I'm sure Steve will be glad to answer them.
Convenient, right? Just for clarification, and I found the answer in here, the master plan you had mentioned, that was started in 2024. It's going to take 12 to 18 months, so you're looking at maybe end of next year before that master plan is completed.
Interestingly, with the state grants, you get the grant, and in 30 days, you get the money, and then you begin to work. the federal government, the federal grants we got through the Community Fund project, and Congressman McGarvey's office was essential to that. It has taken us 14 months to get the grant agreement signed with the Maritime Department within the U.S. Department of Transportation. We just did that in the last 30 days. And so we now have a request for qualifications out. We had 15 people in on Monday during the rainstorm in the afternoon to walk the property with us. So there's great interest in being the consultant to help us work through that project, and that will take us about 12 to 18 months from now. But it was an incredible process to try to get the grant agreement approved in order to be able to move forward.
So you're hoping about 2027?
Yes. And that master plan will help inform the strategic plan, but we can't wait for that. Other parts, that's only 300 acres of the 2,000 acres on the original footprint and the 200 acres that we have up on Dixie Highway. So we're going to move forward even as part of their efforts are informed by the master plan.
You had mentioned earlier that you were one of 7 Riverport authorities, is that correct?
That's correct.
Where are the other 6?
All the way down on the Tennessee line on the Mississippi River in Henderson, in Hickman, Kentucky, and then up to Eddyville, Owensboro. Owensboro has a wonderful port, by most lights, the best in Kentucky. And then up the river to us. And then northern Kentucky has a fledgling effort that's really not underway yet. So the next one I would really count is in Maysville, and the last one is just outside of Greenup in northeastern Kentucky.
It's interesting. Paducah doesn't have one?
Paducah does as well. I'm so sorry. Yes.
Oh, it's okay. So then there's 8?
Hickman, Paducah.
Hickman, Paducah.
Right. Hickman, Paducah, Henderson, Eddyville. But the one in Maysville is most like northern Kentucky as well. It is not really functioning now. It is at its early stages and trying to get off the ground. So there are 9 total, 7 really functioning.
Thank you so much. My partner's from Paducah, so I spend a lot of time just staring out at the river right there where they all converge. It's pretty
Yes.
neat. Also, you have 13 miles of railroad that run through your facilities, and so you have a relationship with CSX, Norfolk Southern, and the Paducah line.
We do.
Good to know for future.
Yes, and we're renegotiating contracts which had not been renegotiated for many years in terms of the amount of money the railroads are paying in for the maintenance here. So it's a useful time to do that since Norfolk Southern and the Union Pacific are in the middle of a proposed merger. And so they are looking for friends and folks who to support that merger. So we're engaged in trying to make sure that they take due attention to this and treat us fairly. Your alarm went off here. If I might just add this.
Of course, I think Councilman Bratcher also might have a couple of questions.
Yeah, wasn't, industrial parks are they competitive?
They are competitive in terms of businesses deciding, I will locate at your park versus another park. The ones that are most interested in the Riverport Authority and the Jefferson Riverport International are ones that are looking for this rail connection to come right in the property, which is not what most industrial parks have, number one, and then the option for barge traffic as well. So we are really wonderfully situated because of truck, rail, and barge here, and then reasonable proximity, of course, to air traffic as well.
Yeah.
Our port, the Jeffersonville port is, by some measures, the most active inland port in America. And so we should be in that realm as well, and we're not.
Seems like an industrial park went out of business around here a few years ago. Does that ring a bell?
Not to me, but
Louisville Industrial Park?
Don't know, but I've only been at this part of it since August of '24, so I wasn't really paying attention to earlier parts of that.
If you did and I know you won't, but if you did went bankrupt,
Right.
who's coming to bail you out? The state?
Well, that would be an interesting question here. The state has an interest in it, and we work with the State Economic Development Cabinet as well as LEDA and Jeff O'Brien and his folks still remaining in the Economic Development Cabinet. And then there might be some interest in Metro government trying to keep it going, but we were created as an entity of state law, and there are these other river ports, so there's a recognition within the State Economic Development Cabinet and the Transportation Cabinet of the importance of doing this. So I think there would be real interest in the state legislature in trying to make sure that Louisville maintained an effective river port.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
And
Very interesting.
So my final comment would be this, in terms of, so what would we ask Metro government for if we're not asking for money, which we're not? Number one is, please keep us in mind in terms of infrastructure. We have these heavy trucks that come in and out. So they come out over state roads, county roads. I know that the new Department of Transportation within Metro government is looking at this strategic plan for all over the county, but we have needs in the area, and we want to make sure that the infrastructure, both in roads, storm water issues, MSD and others. For us to be as effective as possible, those infrastructure needs are significant, including the expenses we have for the railroad. Secondly, I would tell you that LEDA has been a wonderful partner for us. And I know you all have invested money into the LEDA entity there. They are amazingly active with us in trying to promote the Riverport and our remaining properties. And the third thing is, we do receive indirect support from Metro government in terms of our auditor is under the umbrella of a Metro government audit, so the former Strothman and Company do this. We get a price break because of that. We get help through the HR folks here in support, and also we're doing a new records retention policy. We have a call next week with Chris Seitz and the IT folks here, as well as the Kentucky Department of Libraries and Archives. So we're getting indirect support through Metro government, which is much appreciated. How many employees do you all have? In the authority? There are 2 full-time, 1 half-time, and we're hiring under our new budget our 3rd full-time person, which we hope to have selected next week. There was a time, Mr. Vice Chair, before COVID that there were 6 or 7 people here. There was an engineer there on site. There were lots of other folks. And when COVID hit, the activities slowed down so dramatically that we functionally had 1 person there in the office and 1 person who was headquartered in Arkansas, but was an executive vice president. And then Ozzie Gibson, in one of the 4 hats that he was wearing at that time, was also interim director, executive director of Riverport. So it is a very, very small enterprise here, and I think our board chair would tell you that we are scrambling to try to do all of these things and do them well. But we need to be able to do them well in order to show the board that there's value and build out a staff from there.
And was that correct? I got 2 prominent asks, and that was keep you in mind for infrastructure, but also really an emphasis on storm water infrastructure.
Did
I miss any?
And the roads, but the LEDA, just to comment that the LEDA partnership that we've developed with them has been very important. This is not to be critical of the economic development situation before, but I'm advised by our executive vice president that it has stepped up dramatically in terms of the outreach, the consistent outreach to us by the LEDA folks about how they can help and can they bring prospects by to see us, and that is much appreciated. And of course, the third one is the continued indirect support that we're receiving from Metro government.
Thank you. And the Riverport is located in District 12?
It's split between the 2 compadres sitting over here, Councilwoman Bast and Councilman JJ's district. So most of it is in his district, a little bit of it is in hers. She's coming out for her tour and visit next week, and we're still scheduling his.
Sure, and just keep other council members involved,
Absolutely.
in mind for those tours, so.
Yes.
Thank you so much for waiting. You being last did not mean that you were least, but, and you pointed out earlier that today's theme was economic development. I forgot to point that out, but I
Yes.
think that you all picked up on it, so.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sticking around.
And we'll be glad to come back at any time. So thank you all. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Have
All
a
right.
great night.
Good night.
And with that, I believe we're adjourned.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.